Here is your complete script. Why she doesn't care when you go silent. You think going silent will make her miss you. But here's the brutal truth. She's not sitting by her phone. She moved on before you even pressed send on nothing. Let that land. You pulled away expecting hunger. You expected her to feel the absence the way you feel it. You expected silence to be a language she'd decode into longing, into regret, into where did he go? I need him back, and instead, nothing. Radio silence answered with radio silence. Maybe a story view, maybe not even that. And now you're the one checking your phone every 20 minutes, wondering why the strategy isn't working, why the silence that was supposed to draw her in only seems to push you further into your own head. That's where we need to start. Right there, in that gap between what you expected and what actually happened, because everything you need to understand about yourself, about attraction, about where you actually... The myth about going silent it lives in that gap. If this kind of truth is what you need to hear more of, not flattery, not feel-good nonsense, just clarity that actually moves you forward, then hit subscribe right now. Not for me, for you. Because if you don't have someone consistently cutting through the fog and telling you what's real, you will keep running the same losing plays and calling them strategy. Subscribe. You need the reminders more than you think. Now let's go deep. Here's what it really means when she doesn't react to your silence. It means your presence wasn't significant enough to make your absence felt. That's the thesis. That's the whole message. Everything else I'm about to say is just unpacking why that's true. What caused it? What it's costing you and how you completely rewrite the story from this moment forward. First, the misconception. You learned somewhere, maybe from a forum, maybe from a friend who read one chapter of a dating book and summarized it badly, that silence is power, that pulling back creates mystery, that withdrawing attention makes you scarce, and scarcity makes you valuable. And in a narrow technical sense, there's a sliver of truth in that. Scarcity does matter. But here is where men get it catastrophically wrong. Scarcity only works when there was already established value. You cannot make someone miss water they never drank. You cannot make someone crave a meal they never tasted. If she never truly felt the weight of your presence, if your energy, your purpose, your character, your certainty never actually landed on her, then your silence is not a withdrawal of something precious. It's just the absence of background noise. When silence has no emotional impact. That's the hard truth. Your silence is not a power move. It's a confession. It is the loudest possible announcement that you were never leading, never grounded, never the kind of man whose departure leaves a mark. When a man who is truly centered, truly purposeful, truly magnetic steps back. People feel it. They feel the shift in the room. They notice when the temperature drops, but when a man who was chasing, over-exting, emotionally bleeding onto someone who wasn't invested, when that man goes quiet, the quiet feels the same as everything else he was doing. Forgettable. Read that again if you need to. The silence only cuts if she believed you were a source of something irreplaceable, and if she was already indifferent, if she was already keeping you at a comfortable distance. If she was already answering your messages 2 hours late with one word, then you going silent doesn't disrupt her world. It confirms what she already sensed, that you were never quite sure of yourself to begin with. That's called chasing energy. And chasing energy doesn't disappear just because you stop texting. It lives in you. She felt it, she filed it, and no amount of strategic silence erases the impression you already made. So why does this happen? Why do men end up here in the first place? Because you started from a position of deficit. Not deficit of looks, not deficit of money, not even deficit of personality, deficit of self-belief. You liked her before you had reason to. You decided she was valuable before she demonstrated she was safe. You invested emotionally before there was any mutual foundation. And that order, that sequence where she comes first and you come a distant second in your own story, that is why low attraction changes. Everything created this entire dynamic. She sensed that women are extraordinarily perceptive about this one specific thing. They can feel almost immediately whether a man is operating from a place of surplus or a place of need. Surplus sounds like quiet confidence. It sounds like a man who laughs easily because he's not auditioning. It feels like someone whose world was already full before she walked into it. Need sounds different. Need sounds like effort that isn't proportional. Need feels like someone adjusting themselves to match her frequency instead of simply broadcasting their own. And you, in this situation, at this particular moment, you were broadcasting need. You dressed it up. You timed your texts. You tried to seem nonchalant. But the frequency underneath all of it was please choose me. That's why the silence doesn't work, because the silence is still coming from the same frequency. It's just need wearing a different costume. And here's what it costs you. Every day you spend monitoring her activity, checking whether she viewed your story, analyzing her response time, trying to decode what her one-word reply actually means. That is a day you are not building. That is a day your mission sits idle. That is a day your body doesn't get trained. Your skills don't get sharper. Your finances don't get stronger. Your friendships don't get deeper. You are paying for this illusion with the most non-renewable currency you have. You stop growing. You stop creating. You stop moving. You stop being the man who would have attracted the mistake many men. Make her in the first place if you had been that man to begin with. You stop. Think about what that means over weeks, over months. Think about the version of you that would exist right now if every hour you spent analyzing her behavior had been redirected into something real. Think about the body you would have built, the business you would have started, the craft you would have mastered, the man you would have become. That man would not be going silent as a tactic. That man would go silent because he's busy, because life is full, because he has somewhere else to be. That's the reframe. Silence, when it comes from a full man, is not a strategy. It's a byproduct. The man who is genuinely hard to reach isn't playing games. He's actually somewhere. He's not calculating how long to wait before he responds. He genuinely forgot to check his phone because he was locked in. He's not manufacturing mystery. He is mysterious because he's complex, because he's building something, because there are layers to him that take time to understand. His silence speaks because his presence already spoke first. Let me describe this man to you because I want you to see him clearly. This man wakes up with a direction, not just a to-do list, a direction, a North Star, something he is building that will outlast any relationship, any rejection, any moment of silence from anyone. He knows who he is before he knows who she is. That's the sequence. Identity first, connection second. He does not require her validation to feel real. He does not collapse when she's cold. He does not confidence versus silence perform when she's watching and disappear into anxiety when she's not. When he meets a woman he's drawn to, he is present, genuinely present. He is curious about her, not obsessed with her. He pursues, but he pursues from surplus, not from need, not from fear of losing someone he never truly had. And when she pulls back, he doesn't manufacture silence in response. He doesn't run a playbook. He simply continues. He goes back to his work. He goes back to his training. He goes back to his friendships and his purpose and his vision, not as a strategy, as a lifestyle. And here's the thing about that man that most men miss. He has boundaries, not walls. Boundaries. There is a difference. Walls say, I'm afraid, so I'm keeping you out. Boundaries say, I know what I will and will not accept, and I am not willing to compromise that regardless of how attracted I am to you. He is not cold, he is not cruel, but he will not shrink himself to fit a space that was never meant for him. He will not text 4 times when one time got no reply. He will not decode her ambiguity as though it contains a treasure map. When a woman shows him who she is, especially when she shows him she is indifferent, he believes her. He says, "Thank you," and he moves. That's self-respect in practice, not as an idea, as a daily discipline. So now here's what you actually do, not theoretically, right now. Stop auditing her behavior. Unfollow if you have to. Mute, delete, create space, whatever the version of that is for you, but stop feeding the loop. Every time you check building real value and presence her profile, you are re-injecting yourself with a drug that keeps you stuck. You are volunteering for pain and then wondering why it hurts. Stop. Stop running tactics. Stop counting hours before you reply. Stop going silent as manipulation. The moment you start playing chess with someone's emotions, you have already lost your integrity. And your integrity is the foundation of everything. Do not sacrifice it for someone who isn't certain about you ever. Start redirecting every impulse to check on her. Redirect it. Channel it into a set at the gym. Channel it into an hour of work on your craft. Channel it into a conversation with someone who is actually glad to hear from you. Every time your brain tries to pull you back into the loop, and it will try because this is how obsession works, you make a different choice, not because the feelings aren't real. They're real. But feelings are not facts, and they are not instructions. You choose differently. Start building presence. Real presence. The kind that means something before she ever walks into the room. Ask yourself what you are building right now that would make someone proud to be chosen by you. Not your physical appearance alone, your character, your drive, your ability to be consistent even when no one is watching, especially when no one is watching. Build that because that is what eventually becomes magnetic. Not tactics, not silence, not games, substance, and start accepting reality. Some women are simply not yours. That is what actually makes her notice, not a wound. It is information. It is the universe protecting you from a road that leads nowhere. The right person will not require you to perform silence or mystery or emotional unavailability. The right person will feel your presence even when you're simply being yourself. That is what you're looking for. Not someone you have to trick into caring. Someone who sees what's real and chooses it. That is available to you, but only if you become the man who deserves it. And you become that man not by running better tactics, but by doing the work day after day, whether anyone is watching or not. Here is what I want you to leave with. You are not broken. You are not unlovable. You are not deficient in some fundamental way because one woman didn't spiral into longing when you went quiet. What you are is unfinished. And unfinished is not a verdict. It's a starting point. Every man who ever built something real about himself started from exactly where you are right now. In the confusion, in the gap, in the place where what he expected met the wall of what was actually true. That moment, that painful, disorienting moment, is the beginning of everything. The pain you feel right now is not evidence that you are less than. It is evidence that you care, that you want something real. And final message from Laurin Ponce, wanting something real is the first honest thing. Now you just have to redirect that caring away from her timeline, away from her response rate, away from the silence she may or may not be feeling and back toward yourself. You are the answer to your own question. Not silence, not strategy, not waiting for her to come around. You present, purposeful, grounded, building something, being someone. That is the work. And that work starts today. If this cut through something for you, if you felt one moment of recognition, one moment of clarity, then subscribe right now because this is what we do here. We trade comfort for truth. We trade fantasy for direction. Every video is another piece of that map. How to become the man you keep almost becoming, but keep getting distracted from. Subscribe so you don't lose the thread. You need this in your corner, and if you're here right now watching this, feeling this, know that you are not alone. There are men everywhere working through exactly what you're working through, choosing differently, choosing themselves, choosing to build instead of chase. You're already one of them. Now act like it.